Here's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about your certificate. There's some information that you have to be aware of on your certificate. Your permit. I'm going to give you some information on your permit. I'm going to tell you where all the road test areas are on Staten Island in case you're considering taking it in Staten Island. I mean, you can take it anywhere in New York State, but I'm going to let you know where they are in Staten Island because you're not familiar with these sites. I'm going to talk. I'm going to give you a lot of. I'm going to tell you how the scoring system works, how these examiners make a decision if they're going to pass or fail. There's a whole system they use. I'm going to tell you what that system is. I'm going to give you a lot of road test procedures as far as where your hands have to be on the wheel, position of hands on the wheel, how to make a turn, how to come back from a turn, the speed you're supposed to be going according to the weather. If it's a dry day, rainy day, or snowy day, how fast you should be going on these streets that they bring you on. How to do stop signs. There's two kinds of stop signs. There's a regular stop sign and an all-way stop sign. I'm going to explain to you how to do both of those legally. K-turn is required, which is like a U-turn, and also parallel parking. I'll try to cover that as much as I can, but parallel parking is something you really have to be in a car to understand it, but I'll give you some of the basics of that. So I'm going to cover a lot of things. What you should do when you get in the car with the examiner, what you shouldn't do, how to act, little things, little tricks. All right, now let me tell you about your certificate. That certificate that we will mail to you at the end is good for 1 year. That means you got to take care of all your road test businesses 1 year. If you let it expire, you have to take the class over again. On the front of the certificate, today's date will be stamped on it. That certificate, as soon as you get it, you must sign the front of it. On the bottom right, there will be a place for your signature. You have to sign it. If you don't sign it, they won't accept it at the road test site. Right? So that's the first thing you got to do as soon as you get it in the mail. It has to be mailed to you. You can't come in person and pick it up. It has to be done through the mail per DMV regulations. If you lose a certificate, because a lot of people lose these things, they disappear on people. They just jump out of your arms if they had an opportunity. If you need a second certificate, you have to come here to get it. This office on 91 Guyan Avenue, they will charge you $20 for a certificate, just so you know. And then you would use the duplicate at your road test site. Even if you go home and you find the first one, throw it in the garbage. Once they give you the second certificate, that's the one you got to bring to the test, if you lose the first one. All right. Your permit. And I'm going to show you something about certificate at the end, how not to fold it. They don't like it when it's all folded up and balled up, so I'm going to tell you how to keep it nice. So it's a small piece of paper, it's not big. Your permit. There's some information that's on your permit you have to be aware of. It could be listed on the front of your permit. It could be listed on the back of your permit. It could say the word restrictions. And if it says the word restrictions, that means you must wear glasses or contact lenses to your test. Right? It might say restrictions, and next to the word restrictions, it might say corrective lenses. If it says corrective lenses, then you have to have glasses or contact lenses. And if you don't have glasses or contact lenses, they won't let you take the test. And they won't let you go home and get the glasses and come back later. Right? They're very strict with that. You got to be correct at that moment. Okay. You always have to get. Let me tell you about shoes. Shoes are very important. You cannot wear on your feet for a road test flip-flops. You can't wear sandals. You can't wear a wedge. You can't wear high heels, and you can't wear slippers. Right? Any of those things on your feet, they will not let you take the test. Right? It has to be sneakers, boots, stuff like that. But no slippers, sandals, wedges, high heels, or well, you heard what I said. I forgot the last one. Sneakers, boots are good. Okay. If you always have to get to your road test area 30 minutes before your appointment. All right, you can't get there an hour before, and you can't get there 10 minutes before. All right, you have to get there about 30 minutes before. When you get there, you're going to see a line of cars. You have to pull up behind the last car on the line. But let me tell you about a law that I'm sure you're not even aware of. There's a law that says if you have a permit, you're not allowed to drive within a mile of a road test area. So what that means is when you get to your road test site, you have to always be in the passenger seat of that car. The person that's bringing you to the road test has to be the driver. And the person that's bringing you to the road test has to be a licensed driver, 21 or older, and it cannot be a license from another country. It has to be someone licensed from somewhere in the United States, and 21 or older, and it can't be expired. So remember, when you pull up to those line of cars, make sure you're always in the passenger seat. If they see you in the driver's seat and you're getting out of the driver's seat and you're the one taking the test, they'll cancel your road test. Right? They'll cancel it. Right? So make sure you're always in the passenger seat. And you have to get there 30 minutes before. Don't get there late because they can cancel you if you're late. Right? 30 minutes before, but not an hour before. It's too much. Now, when you get there, you pull up behind the last car. And then you just sit in the car and you do nothing. And what's going to happen is the first car on the line will pull out to take the test. They drive out. And then everybody on the line moves their car up one space. And then you sit there again. The next car goes, you move your car up one space. Until you're eventually going to be the first car. And when you're the first car, the examiner is going to walk over to you in the car. All right, you have to get out of the car, and the person that brought you has to get out on the sidewalk. They're going to ask you for your permit, certificate. They're going to check to see if you're supposed to have glass on. They look at your shoes. The person that brings you there, they're going to ask them for their license, and they're also going to ask them for the registration for that car and the insurance card. So the car has to be insured and it has to be legally registered because they'll ask for those documents.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why do they ask for all this information?
Why do they do it?
Yeah, like for the driver who's taking you there. Like, what about if I call an Uber?
You can't use an Uber for the test.
No. Like I'm using your car for the exam, but I'm calling an Uber there. Like, what about I do that?
If you're using the driving school car, you don't have to worry about any of this stuff.
Okay.
We road tests every single day. They know us. They know all our paperwork. Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. I thought you meant can you use a Uber before the road test? No. Yeah.
I have a question. Can the car be registered in another state, insured in another state?
That's the New York State registered.
Okay, thank you.
They don't allow a car out of state registry. But make sure that, because remember, you're using a car for a road test, it's going to be on the street. They want to make sure it's legal. So that's why all these documents are required from the owner. If you go to driving school car, you have nothing to worry about.
Wait, I have another question. So when I do this driving test and I'm renting your vehicle, do I show up to the office or do I show up to the test?
Well, you're using the car only, no lesson before time?
No, I got my lessons from a different school because I live in Brooklyn, but I moved recently to Staten Island. So
yeah, no.
I did my classes with them, but I'm doing my road test with you guys.
You have to meet the instructor near the road test area. They were not allowed to meet you directly in the road test site. We meet you like a block away. They'll tell you, the office will tell you where to meet the instructor.
I hear that.
And then you get in the car, they bring you to the road test site, you take the test, and then they drop you off again where they picked you up. That's how you do it. Yeah, if you were using the car ahead of time, but you're in Brooklyn anyway. Where do you live in Brooklyn? Around where?
No. I was from Brooklyn. That's where I got my other classes from, but I recently moved here. That's why I'm taking my road test here.
Don't take the road test in Brooklyn.
I won't.
Don't take it in Brooklyn. They'll be very crazy sites there. A lot of problems. A lot of people fail in Brooklyn. That's why all the Brooklyn people come to Staten Island. They all come to Staten Island to take tests because the streets are quiet.
Question: how long does it take for the certificate to get mailed?
Tomorrow.
It'll be mailed tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And it always gets mailed to the address on the permit. We have to mail it to the address on the permit. They'll mail it out tomorrow.
Well, thank you.
Hello?
Question.
I have a question.
Evelise, go.
I don't have even access to that address on my permit. That address is in Long Island.
Do you know the person who lives there?
No.
You should have changed that address when you moved.
Oh, that was years ago. I wasn't informed that they do that it has to be the address on the permit.
Yeah. Hold on a minute. Let me ask if there's a person still here in the office that does that. Danielle. Dan. Hold on one second. The girl's still. The address that's on her permit, she moved.
Doesn't matter.
And she doesn't know anybody with an address.
DMV makes, it's part of the guidelines that we have to send it on the address that's listed on the permit. Required. It's because of the doing it. We want everything to be completely accurate.
Yeah. Did you hear him?
They should tell you that before you take the class, before all that, so that way you're aware. I'll figure it out, but I'm just saying, future reference, that's something that you guys should let us know.
Yeah, you should have changed it if you went to DMV,
I didn't go to the DMV.
I'm saying you should have went to DMV and changed the address on there.
All this COVID stuff going on, that's why I didn't go.
Yeah, well, they've accepted by appointments. If you wanted to do that, you could have done it online too. But yeah, unfortunately, it's required. We're not allowed to send it to any other address.
Lejon Mitchell has left the group. Can you guys let him in, please? Lejon Mitchell.
Say it again. Say what you just said.
Lejon Mitchell has left the group by mistake, by accident. Can you guys let him in? He's texting me right now. He's not on group right now. I think he left by accident. He's waiting for approval for.
Hold on.
Lejon Mitchell.
Yeah.
Okay, we got it.
Thank you so much. Thank you sorry about that.
No problem. The other one.
Hello, I have a question. So you guys rent cars to use for? Huh?
Yeah, they use the driving school car for the test. If you don't want to use your own car.
So what about if you don't want to take other classes? You just ready to take the drove test?
That's full car only. If you do car only, then you come in here, you pay the fee. I don't know what the fee is. I'm not sure about the pricing. And then you, like I was telling her, you come to the road test. They meet you at the road test site and you use our car for the test, and then they drop you off right there. You don't need lessons.
Cool.
Or you can go with, if you know somebody that has a car, and they'll let you use it. You could use theirs. But remember that whoever owns the car has to go with it.
Right. Gotcha. Thank you.
Now, if you're going to use your own car, now this is not the driving school car. If you use your own car, there's some regulations that you have to be aware of. Make sure you have 3 mirrors on the car. All right, it has to be a rear view mirror, right side mirror, left side mirror, driver's side mirror. You can't have any tint on the windows. All right, any kind of tint, they don't allow you to use the car for that road test. If the examiner feels the windows are too dark, they'll just disqualify that car and they'll just cancel your road test. The only tint you're allowed to have legally on windows is if you have a 4-door car on the rear windows, the rear driver's side, rear passenger side.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Now I know I'm gonna, rent your own car, but let's say if someone who does bring their own car and does have tints in their windows or whatever, and it does get canceled, do they reschedule their test or they have to repay it?
If you're using your car?
Yeah, and let's say the instructor thinks it's too dark for you to use or whatnot, and they cancel your appointment. Do they reschedule for you and you have to repay, or?
They don't do it. You have to reschedule yourself.
And I have to repay?
No. To schedule a road test, there's no charge for that. If you do it yourself. If you schedule a road test yourself, there's no charge for that. But they won't reschedule you. That's up to you to do it. Yeah.
So I have a question. So what if your car is registered underneath you and you want to use that car? So you can't use the car if you can?
Yeah, because you're the legal owner.
Yeah. So I can use my car then?
Yeah.
All right. That's all I needed to know.
But you still got to go with somebody 21 or older that has a license.
No, that's fine, sir. That's not a problem.
The paperwork showing that your name is on the documents.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
Yeah. Another thing you have to be aware of, and a lot of people, these are things that people kind of don't think about. I've been to a lot of road tests. I've been to over between 3,000 and 4,000 road tests, right? And I've seen people make silly mistakes and fail for silly things. If you have a cell phone, make sure you turn it off. Don't get in the car with that examiner and that cell phone rings, because and when you shut that phone off, make sure you don't put it in the cup holder between the 2 seats or in the console, even though it's turned off. Because when that examiner gets in the car with you, the first thing they're going to see is that phone. And then you look like a phone person, and it looks like you're the kind of person that drives with the phone in that car, and they'll be very strict with your exam. All right, so make sure you let somebody else hold it. Whoever brings you to the test, let them hold it. Don't bring it in the car, and don't put it under the seat. Because sometimes people put it under the seat, the passenger seat, and then, God forbid, you got to hit the brake a little bit hard at some point. It'll slide right out and hit them in the back of the foot, and then you're screwed. All right, so make sure let somebody else hold it. All right, it's important. If your car has a backup camera, all right, there's another thing. Our cars don't have this. If your car has a backup camera, you can't use that you can use the car, but you have to shut the screen off. A lot of people don't know how to shut the screen off. If you don't know how to shut it off, you got to take a piece of paper and you got to cover it before you get to the road test area. Take a little piece of paper and just tape it over the screen so they can't see it, right? Because you're not allowed to use a car with a backup camera, right? You know, if the screen is shown. Also, you cannot have anything hanging from the front mirror, the rear view mirror, the one's inside the car. You can't have anything hanging from the mirror, like people hang air fresheners, you know, all kinds of stuff they hang up there. Anything that you have hanging from a rear view mirror is actually illegal. You get a $115 ticket for that. All right? A lot of people don't know that until they get the ticket. And on the ticket it'll say obstruction of view. All right, so make sure you have nothing hanging from the rear view mirror. It's got to be just the glass. Right.
Excuse me, I have a question.
No.
You said you can't have a rear view camera like on the dash. If like you're backing up, what could you do if your rear view camera like beeps as you get closer to an object?
So I don't care about that. If as you back up and it makes that beeping noise to alert you, that's okay. They don't care about that. But you can't physically look in a camera in the screen and your car's moving in reverse. You have to physically turn around and look over your right shoulder, which I'll tell you. I'll tell you about that in a few minutes when we get to that. Backing up, parking.
I have a question.
Oh,
I have a question.
Very good. You know. Go ahead.
Hello.
I hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. With regard to the tinted windows, if the windows are tinted, can't we lower the windows and use the car?
No. Can you put the windows down?
Yeah.
No. All the windows have to be up. If the examiner wants to open a window, they can open up their window, but they require all the other windows to be closed because they're afraid that if you open your window and you hear a loud noise next to you, maybe there's a truck next to you, you might get scared and and then crash into a tree. So they want the car as quiet as possible. And also, when you start the car, when the examiner tells you to start the car, the radio has to be off, right? And remember, you can't start. First, let me just tell you how it's going to work. After they check your documents on the sidewalk, they're going to tell you to get into the car, right? You must walk around the front of your car to get into the driver's seat. You cannot step off the sidewalk and walk around the back of the car, right? You got to walk around the front and get into the driver's seat.
Okay, why is that?
Because when you walk around the front of the car, you're facing traffic that's coming towards you. And there's a lot of people that are finishing their road test coming back. And some people can't drive well. And they don't want you to get squished. So if you're facing traffic, you can see a car coming towards you, you can jump out of the way. But if you walk around the back of the car, traffic is to your back, and you can't see if there's a car coming too close to you. That's why. They got reasons for everything. All right, so get in the car, you sit. The first thing you have to do is put your seatbelt on. All right, it's the very first thing you got to do. Adjust your seat, get comfortable. The seatbelt's got to go on immediately. All right, that's your first step. Sometimes the examiner puts it on, sometimes they don't. Let them do it. Don't say to them, put your seatbelt on, because they get very insulted with stuff like that. You know, they're very touchy people. I've all the thousands of road tests I've been to, I've never seen them not put a seatbelt on. All right, they'll put it on if they're done with their paperwork. All right, they'll hold all your documents, they check everything. Put your seatbelt on. Then you touch your rear view mirror. All your mirrors should be adjusted before you get there, but if you need to adjust it, just touch the rear view mirror, just to show them that you're aware you have to look in it. Look in your passenger mirror, look in your driver's side mirror, and then you sit and you do nothing, right? You cannot start the car until they tell you to start that car, right? I've had people that have waited months for road tests that have gone to other schools for this class that don't teach you this stuff. They just put movies on and you go home. And I've had people wait for months for their road test appointment, and as soon as they got in the car with the examiner, they started it, and they fail you for that. And it's an automatic fail. So if you have a car that has keys, you could have the keys in there, just don't start it until they tell you to start it, all right? Now, after they tell you to start the car, like I said, make sure the radio's off. They don't want to hear the radio playing when the car's off. The radio's got to be off, right? Then they're going to tell you, pull away from the curb, all right? Now, when you pull away from a curb, this, and if anybody's taken lessons, you'll probably know this already. But if you're not taking lessons, this is almost going to be like a lesson without the car. When you pull away from the curb, you have to look in 4 places. First, you got to put the car in drive, before it's changed the gear, right? Then you have to put your turn signal on, left turn signal. Then you have to look in 4 places before that car moves. You have to look in the passenger side mirror, then the rear view mirror, then the driver's side mirror, and then over your left shoulder. You have to physically turn your head and look over your left shoulder into your blind spot, right? Because the driver's side mirror doesn't see everything. There's a small portion that it doesn't see. That's why you have to always turn your head and look over your left shoulder. So you would look at the passenger side, rear view, driver's side, over the left shoulder, and then you would go. Now, if you see a car coming, far away, don't go. They don't want to see anybody taking chances. Unless the car is like 3 blocks away, then you can pull away from the curb. But anything closer than that, let that car pass. Now, once that car passes, you got to start all over that procedure over again. Because in those few seconds that you waited for that car to go by, things could change around you. So once the car passes, you got to start right from the beginning. Passenger side, rear view, driver side, over the left shoulder.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you said to put it in drive, look in the passenger side, look over your left shoulder. And what was the 4th thing?
Passenger side, you got to put your left signal on.
Oh, okay. Is that first? Is that the first
Yeah.
thing you do?
Looking
after you put it in drive?
Yes. Drive and then the turn signal.
Okay.
Looking, observation is always the last thing you do before the car moves. Everything else has to be done before that.
Okay. Also, will the instructor definitely tell us when to turn on the car, or will they assume that we know that we should turn it on?
No. Don't turn it on until they tell you.
Okay.
And don't say to them,
I have a question.
Don't say, should I turn it on? They've been doing this for many years. Sit there with your seatbelt on until they tell you to turn it on. And then once they tell you to turn, you turn it. Go ahead.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I was taking the lessons with you guys, and I have 1 lesson left.
Yeah.
And he told me that I can get it for the same day of the road test. So do I wait till they schedule the road test first and then reach out to you guys to see if we can get an available instructor?
Yes. Normally that's what they'll do. They'll arrange the last lesson for the day of the road test. You won't have to do it. They do it.
Oh, okay, great.
The only thing you'll have to tell them is where you want to take it, because you have a choice of 5 different places to take a road test. So once I tell you about these road test areas, which I'm going to tell you in a little couple minutes, then
are we able to am I able to do like my last road test nearby to there, or is it?
Well, legally, remember I told you earlier, you're not allowed to drive within a mile of a road test area. So they'll bring you near it, streets that look very similar to it, but they can't bring you directly into it. It's not allowed to leave.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll bring you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But once they get the road test date for you, then they'll arrange the lesson the hour before. Yeah, they do.
Okay.
So, curb. All right, be very careful, because that's where a lot of people fail at the very beginning when they pull away. You gotta watch out for that. Another thing, if you're going to use your own car and it has a child seat in the back seat, a baby seat, take it out. Don't leave it in there for the test, because when that examiner gets in a car with you and they see a baby seat in there, they're a little more strict with your exam, because they know that if they issue you a license, you're going to be driving a little baby around, and they're worried about your safety and the child's safety, so they're a little more strict with the exam. So if you have your own car, and there's a baby seat in the back, take it out. These are a little don't know that will help
Does the person that you come there with stay in the car during the test?
No, they have to wait on the sidewalk for you.
Okay.
It's only you and the examiner in the car. The person that brings you there waits on the sidewalk until you come back. Yeah.
Okay.
So if it's a rainy day, make sure they bring an umbrella, because you might be out there for a little while. Anybody know how long a road test lasts? How long do you actually drive with the examiner? Everybody know? No?
Maybe 10 minutes, 7 minutes.
How do you know that?
I already took it. The instructor told me.
Yes, it's only about 6 to 8 minutes. It's very, very short. But let me tell you something. 6 to 8 minutes will seem like 6 to 8 hours. It seems like it's an all-day event, but it's only a couple of minutes.
I can imagine.
And they keep you on nice, quiet streets. There is no highway driving. Anybody know why they don't bring you on the highway for the test? Let me tell you why. Because they don't want to get killed. That's why. Not everybody drives.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
It's a little off topic. It's not in reference to me, but are you able to go make an appointment to get your permit right now at the DMV?
Yes, you have to do it. You have to go online and request an appointment for it. They tell you what day to come and what time to come because they're only letting a few people in every day for that.
But the earliest you could do it is October. My friend just applied for it.
Okay, it's all backed
up.
Oh,
okay, not yet.
Because all these people from March till now, now everybody's flooding the DMV at one time. So, hear what she said, March. I mean, October, you said, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. Yeah,
how quick can we get the road test once we have the certificate?
That's up to it depends on what road test area you pick.
Now, someone was telling me, they were telling me that I could pay like $60 and get like a priority road test or something.
Yeah, they have things where, I don't know what the actual fee is, but you pay extra. And then if there's, let's say this class here is 60 people, right? The class where everybody's in now 60 people. You would go to the top of the 60.
Okay.
They'd handle your paperwork first before anybody else's. You pay this additional fee. That's something the other thing I'll talk to the office about.
Wait, you do it through the DMV or?
No, if you do it yourself, you could try to do it yourself. From your own computer. You go into the DMV website, schedule an appointment. But if you want to try to get it quicker, the school has ways of doing it quicker. For the extra one, a couple extra hours. I don't know what the fee is, but maybe if they have to. Okay.
Excuse me. So the school can schedule the road test for us,
right?
If we pay the extra fee,
right.
So we don't have to. Oh, okay, cool.
Right.
We just pay the $60 and we can get ahead of this.
And then as soon as they get the date, they call you with the date.
Even if you don't use your card?
Yeah. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, of course. We do. You know how many road tests we schedule? Thousands a month. Thousands. So you could always, if you don't want to go, bother with it. Because sometimes when you go online and you check to see if there's any dates, there won't be any dates for weeks. Because when the DMV puts dates on, they don't put 100 dates on at a time. They'll put on like 10. And they might do it 3 o'clock in the morning when you're sleeping. And if you're not on the computer at that 3 o'clock in the morning, those dates are gone. Those dates are gone in a minute. Because there's thousands of people that want appointments. So in 2 seconds, those dates disappear. And then the DMV might not put dates on again for another week. You know what I mean? At maybe, who knows, different, at random times. They don't put dates on like a certain time. 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, 12 in the afternoon. And you have to actually be on that computer and keep pressing refresh. And all of a sudden, you'll see dates will appear. And then you have to click and put your name in. You have like a second to do it. And then your name goes into that road test area. But that road test area might not be the day you want, time you want, the day of the week, And then you'd have to wait another week for more dates to come up. So sometimes it's easier for the school to do it because we have a girl that does it 24 hours a day. She does it from the house. 3 o'clock in the morning, she'll be on there making appointments with people. But that's how they do it. The DMV doesn't have any order to it. They just put dates on when they feel like it. Their computer in Albany just spits dates out. Sometimes it's not that easy to do. So, make sure, I'm going to tell you a couple more things you have to know before I get into road test procedures. I've seen a lot of people fail in road tests because during the test, it starts raining and they don't know how to put a windshield wiper on. It's something you take for granted, but you don't think about it. But during the road test, in case it starts raining, make sure you know how to put a windshield wiper on. It's very important because if you don't do it, you fail. All right, if you don't know how to do it.
I know how to turn it on. I just don't know how to get it to stop. That's always my issue.
Well, you push the lever down and to make it go on. You push the lever up to make it stop.
Oh, I thought I was the only one all the way up, right?
Say it again.
I had the same issues too with the windshield at first.
Okay, yeah, because I know
You're not the only one.
Up, it still goes, and that's why. That's why I always struggle. So
yeah, and then it's like so hard to turn off.
Turn off.
Only one.
No.
And 2 times, you click it up 2 times, it'll go off. Yeah. But I'm saying, people fail for crazy things like that. It starts raining, they don't know what to do.
No, I know how to turn it on. I just don't know how to get it to stop. That's my issue.
Well, practice it before you go, just in case, and try to not pick a rainy day for the road test. If you put windshield wipers on, what else are you required to put on by law? Anybody know?
Headlights.
Right. Anytime windshield wipers go on, headlights must go on. Make sure you know what the headlight switch is. That's a whole nother switch.
Okay, I have a question. So I always have it on auto. Is that automatically going to turn on if it's raining, or do I have to like turn it then?
What are you talking about, the headlight?
Yeah.
If it's on auto, it's going to automatically go on.
Not all cars have automatic headlight. Sometimes when it gets dark out, the headlights go on automatically. But it depends on the car. Not all cars have that feature. Yeah. If you do have a car where the headlights go on automatically, let them know before the test starts. You say, listen, I'm going to put my windshield wipers on, but you're not going to see me put my headlights on because they're automatic. They're already on. Because if they don't see you actually physically turn the switch to put the headlights on, they don't know they're on. And they'll see you putting the windshield wiper on, but they won't see you turning the switch for the headlights, and they could fail you, even though the headlights are on. But they don't know that your car has that feature. So if you feel when you're taking your road test it's going to rain, and you tell them, listen, if it starts raining, I'm going to put my windshield wipers on, but I don't have to physically put the switch on for the headlights because they're automatic. You got to let them know that ahead of time, because you don't want to feel something ridiculous like that. Because once they put in their computer that they failed you because you neglected to put your headlights on, and then you explain it to them afterwards and say, oh, no, the headlights are automatic on this car. Once they put in that computer failed, they can't unfail it. They can't delete it. So to avoid that misunderstanding, if your car's automatic headlights, just let them know ahead of time. If you feel it's going to rain during that time. All right. So another thing, as we go into the cooler weather, because I don't know when you're going to take your road test, is another thing you have to be aware of. See, when you take a road test, everybody gets nervous, right? And a lot of people start breathing heavy when they get nervous. They start because they get nervous. And on a rainy day or a cool day, your windows are going to fog up. And you got to know how to clear that. A lot of people don't know how to put a defogger on to clear a window. And all the windows start fogging up. And then you're going to wind up failing a test. But they'll say, well, you don't know how to clear glass. You're driving unsafely. So that's another thing you got to be aware of, especially in the cold days or damp days. Make sure you know how to put the windshield defogger on. There's a switch there for the front windshield, and there's one for the back window, so the rear window. It's 2 different switches. All right, make sure you know where they are, just in case. Because like I was telling him earlier, you cannot open a window to let some ventilation. You can't do that. So you have to know how the front defroster works and the back defroster. A lot of people don't know. And then the car comes back and it's all white, and they made a little hole in the front with their face, and you see their face in there because they didn't know how to put the windshield wiper on. So make sure you know how to do it. Little things like that mess people up. Now, let me ask you this. Does anybody know I'm going to tell you how the scoring system works on this test. Does anybody know how it works? How they score you? How they make it?
You can't get above 30.
Right. You said that like a professional road test taker.
I took it twice.
Did you really?
The first time wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
And then the second time, a kid just ran back, so I stopped in the middle of the street, so it was an automatic fail.
Where'd you take this class before?
In some church. I don't know. It was like 2 years ago. And then I gave up because it was very bad luck.
You talking about the church on Forest Avenue?
Yeah.
Oh, that was like a dungeon down there. That school went out of business,
Mm-hmm. And they have all my money. I had like $1,000 over there.
Stole everybody's money. That's why they went out of business. They left town. You're not the only person. There's big lawsuits against them. That was AAAA driving school.
Yeah, but now I do a personal driver, so I don't do schools no more.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson.
Where'd you take the road test?
The first time in Bloomingdale's, and then The second time, I don't remember.
You know, it's a day you want to forget, right?
Yep, it's over now. I'm gonna retake it soon.
The one in Bloomingdale is a good spot. Lenovar is a good spot. It's quiet over there.
Not when there's all these little kids in the middle of the summer day. Not a good idea.
You walk over there. They walk on the path.
With no parent. I don't understand.
I know.
I have a question. I know they do a road test by like Grasmere train station. Do you recommend that location?
They closed that one.
They closed that one.
That was called Fox Hills.
Okay.
That was Clove Road by Moselle.
Right.
Yeah, they closed it.
Question. So what's the best place to take your road test at?
Right.
I'm going to tell you about all of them.
All right. Let me stop rushing. All right.
I'm going to tell you about all of them. There's 5 of them.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you where they are. I'm going to tell you all about each one. But let me do this. Brenda, you're right. Everyone starts with 0 points. It's called a point system. I don't want to bring back bad memories for you, but
It's all right.
Everyone
I didn't want to drive at the point anyway, so now I want to drive, so now I'm going to pass it.
Yeah. Everyone starts with a 0. All right? Every time you make a mistake, they get fired. Every mistake that you can make is either 5-point mistake or a 15-point mistake. There's nothing on the test that's 1 point or 2 point. And the most points you can get is 30 and still pass. So from 0 to 30 is passing. 35 or higher is failing. Right? This is the sheet that they actually use. This is the sheet that they use for the exam. All right? This has there's actually 31 things you could do wrong on this test. And everything this is the errors, and these are the points for each mistake. Most of like I said, most of the things on here are 10 and 15 points. There's very few things that are 5s. So the points build up very, very quickly with little errors. All right, so you got to make sure you do everything right. And I'm going to show you the proper procedures for most of these things. If you ever want to see, normally when I do the class in person, I can give this out, but if you want to find this online, you just have to type in road test evaluation. See at the top here? Road test evaluation in a Google search, and this will come up. All right.
I have another question. Can we go back to when you said when the weather is bad and you start breathing heavy? Like, do they get irritated when we start breathing heavy, or like do they get panicky, or like
if you start breathing heavy?
Yeah, like if I start breathing heavy, like do they panic?
No.
Okay.
No, but now for these road tests, until further notice, everybody has to wear a mask. That, right? Face covering. Yeah, they don't care. They wear it too. No, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care. Everybody gets like that. Everybody gets a little nervous. They're used to that.
Bob, I have a question, actually 2 questions. First one is the windshield wiper speed. Do you have any recommendations, or is it on to our own judgment?
Yes, it depends on how heavy the rain's coming down.
Yeah. All right. So what happened if the rain, let's say, reduced? So do we have to clear the rain before we shutting off the wipers, or is it, sometimes we can, reduce the wiper and let it.
If it stops raining?
Yeah.
Well, you just shut the wipers off, and you don't have to worry about the headlights.
All right. Okay.
It's always safer to have headlights on day or night. It's for better visibility. So it's not required to shut the headlights off if it stops raining.
All right. Okay.
But you do got to shut the windshield wipers off if it stops raining.
Yeah.
In the road test, what is going to be the
Say it again.
The speed limit? And the road test, the speed limit have to be the 25 or 30 or the.
Yes, I'm going to tell you all of that.
Okay, thanks.
All of that, so you know. I'm going to cover all that stuff. So remember, scoring system. It's very important to make sure you do everything properly because, like I said, you only have 0 to 30. Anything 35 or above is failing. Now, road test procedures. Let me tell you about steering. She wants to know about speed. Let me tell you about speed. First, we're going to do a dry day, a rainy day, and a snowy day. On a dry day, dry street, how fast do you think you should go on this test? Between what speed and what speed?
35.
Because you know this stuff.
25, 30.
20.
Oh my God, you're out of control.
25. 25.
Yes, you must go on a dry street between 20 and 25. That's it. Not 26, not 27. That'll fail you automatically because there's certain things on the sheet that are automatic fails also. So,
okay, what about we're below 25?
All right. Anything lower than 25, you can lose points for because you're going too slow. You can lose 15 points for that because you're going too slow and you're creating a hazard on the road. So that's actually on the sheet here. So it has to go 20 to 25 is where you got to stay in that speed. All right. And like I said, not 26, not 27. Even if the speed limit says 35, like at the Father Capodanno road test site, the speed limit's 35. You still can't go more than 25. All right. Just letting you know, 20 to 25 is where you have to be. Not easy to go that slow, but you got to control your foot. It's your foot. All right. So, you know, don't fail because you went 30 and blame it on somebody else. It's your foot on that pedal. So make sure 20 to 25. That's a dry day. Now, what if it's a rainy day? What if it's raining out, or maybe the rain stopped, but the ground's still wet? How fast should you go?
15.
15 is the most?
Yeah, kind of.
15, 20?
Yeah, 15 to 20, that's right. 15 to 20 if it's raining out, all right? And when I say 15 to 20, that does not mean 21 or 22, because now you're in the dry zone, all right? And you can't be in that dry zone, all right? You got to be in the rain zone, which is 15 to 20. That's it. Now, what if it's snowing out? I'm just going to cover this in case somebody's decided to take a snow. What if it's snowing out? And I don't even mean a blizzard. I just mean a couple little flakes of snow coming down. When it hits the ground, it looks like it melts up there in snow.
10 to 15.
10 to 15?
No, you're out of control. 10 to 15. You have to go, I know it's going to be ridiculous, but you got to go 5 to 10.
Oh, my God.
5 to 10 if it's snowing out. All right, no more than that. And that's even a little bit of snow on the ground because, you know, snow is more slippery than rain. So they want you to go, you know, adjust your speed accordingly. So you got to go pretty slow, you know, 5 to 10. So 5 to 10 in snow, 15 to 20 in rain, and 20 to 25 in dry ground. But like I said, never more than 25. Right, that's your top.
What happens if it's just the flurries that evaporate on the windshield?
Yeah.
I think it's normal.
If it's just a one little flake coming down, no. Basically the street's probably still dry.
Okay.
Once you see the streets getting wet, you know, like even if it's like a drizzle out, a heavy drizzle, the street starts to get, you know, you can see it's wet. You got to go slow. You got to reduce that speed quite a bit. Right?
Okay.
I got to tell you one more thing. I forgot to tell you about the car. If you're going to use your own car, you can't have any warning lights on the dashboard. You know, where sometimes you have a check engine light or a brake light, ABS light. You can't have that. They won't let you use a car with any kind of warning lights on the car if they feel that there's something mechanically wrong with it. All right, so make sure that your car doesn't have any warning lights on it. Otherwise, they'll disqualify it. Right? They don't care about, you know, you can't have a seatbelt light. They don't care about your tire pressure's low, you know, or your windshield washer fluid is low. You know, those lights. They don't care about that. That's not life-threatening stuff. But brake light, ABS, which stands for anti-lock braking system light, or a check engine light, that car has. Right, it's another thing that will prevent you from taking it. Now they look for little stuff like that. Right. All right, now. So remember, that's, you know, your speed is very important. Now I'm going to show you something that happened to somebody here. All right, and I've never seen this happen in my life, but it happened to this person. And I just talk about this to make you aware of this. This is a turn signal lever from a car. You see this? This is a turn signal lever. You know, you just flick it up or down to put the signal on. The person took a road test. I don't know how hard they hit this thing, but when they hit it, the whole thing broke off. You see the whole thing broke? I've never seen this happen in my whole life, but it happened to somebody last year. Right?
That boy, the Hulk.
What? Yeah, I don't know. They must have smashed it. And for the rest of the road test, they required that person to use hand signals. A lot of people don't know what the hell a hand signal is. So I'm going to tell you, I don't think this will ever happen in your life. Your kids' flies. But just in case, anybody a hand signal for a right turn? Nobody knows?
Straight hand?
Say it again?
That hand have to be straight?
Let me see.
All the way down? Like this?
No. It's like this.
Oh, like this. Oh, I thought this is the left.
You'd have to open the window. You put your hand out for maybe a second, and then your hand comes back to the steering wheel. That's right turn.
Right turn.
What's a left turn?
Straight left. You stick out your hand out to the left.
Right. Carmita, you got it, and Eric, you got it. Straight out to the left like this. Straight to the left. And what's stop?
When you go down.
Down.
That's right.
Down.
You know that. Good. It's got to be like this. Down.
Yeah, down.
Trying to get it in the screen. Down like that. This is right. This is left. This is stop.
Okay.
If this happens, if this doesn't happen, you don't do this. I don't think this will ever happen, but, just in case.
Okay.
Crazy things happen, I see sometimes, So be careful with that. All right, now, let me tell you about steering control. When you're making a turn, you have to do hand-over-hand steering. Oh, first of all, when you're holding a steering wheel, there's only two positions that they allow you to hold the wheel on. One is a 9 and 3 position.
9 and 3.
The clock, where the 9 and the 3 is on the clock. And the other position they allow is 10 and 2, which is a little bit higher. So 9 and 3 is here, 10 and 2 is here. Those are the only two spots, right? You cannot hold it at the bottom like that. You can't have one hand on the wheel like this, and you can't do gangster driving. It's got to be proper driving procedures like this, right? 9 and 3 or 10 and 2, right? The only two spots. And when you make a turn, you have to do hand-over-hand steering. One hand has to go over the other hand like this. Hand over hand. It's like a flow. When this hand comes down, it's got to come back up. When this hand comes down, it's got to come back up like this. It's hand-over-hand steering. All right? You cannot feed it like some people throw it like this. You can't do that. That's an automatic fail. Or if you get a nice examiner, they'll give you 15 points off for poor steering control. You can't go like that. You can't feed it, right? And you can't, like I do, you can't do no one-hand stuff. You can't do no crazy stuff like that. It's got to be proper. One hand goes over the other hand like that. And it's got to be a flow. All right, that's what they require. That's how you got to do it.
I have a question. Even when you're parallel parking, right? So I like to have my right hand behind the passenger seat and I look back.
You can never do that.
You want to have both hands.
Yeah, you have to. I'm going to talk about that in more detail in a minute, but when you're doing parallel parking, you must look over your right shoulder and you have to do hand over hand back. A lot of people take this right hand and they put it behind the seat to get comfortable and they lean. First of all, they'll think you're trying to touch them. So, you can't put your hand behind the seat. They're fairly fat. There's no hand behind the seat. So a lot of people do that. They get comfortable. They lean. You can't do it. Your hand's got to be like this.
I have a question.
Yes.
How fast should we be going over a speed bump?
Well, the only road test area that has speed bumps is Lenovar, which is the one in Princess Bay area. A speed bump, the sign says 20 miles an hour. It says speed bump 20 miles an hour. How fast do you think you should go over it? What do you think?
10. Because even going 20, it's a lot. You'll
10 to 15.
Yeah, if you go over that thing at 20 miles an hour, your car's going to go off the ground. 10 to 15, they want you to go over that bump between 5 and 10.
5 and 10.
Very slow. Very slow. Okay. Even for real life driving, you should go over it slow. You don't want to break your car. Mm-hmm. But on the road test, even though the sign says speed bump 20 miles an hour, they want you to go over between 5 and 10, close to the 10, but not over the 10. Otherwise, they feel it's an unsafe action that you did. But there's only one road test area that has speed bumps. There's Lenovar by Bloomingdale Park. That's the only one that has it. The other road test area. Right.
Don't do it on a Sunday.
What happened, Brenda?
Don't do it on a summer day.
Don't do it on a summer day because there's so many people.
And then I did it a day after a storm and a tree fell, and I panicked, so I failed the other time. That was 2 times.
Yeah, bad luck. Yeah, some crazy situations there.
I don't know what she wanted me to do. Drive over it?
I don't know what did the examiner look like?
I'm like a little Spanish lady.
Yeah, I know who that is.
I don't know. She had a nasty mood. She had a fight with her husband before she came in the car.
She told you?
No, she was like screaming before she walked in my car. So I already knew it was already a bad luck.
Oh my God.
She like left the window open, and then I got all wet. It was like, the sprinkles and Bloomingdale's car.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I hate these men. Could have touched base.
Hopefully I don't have it.
Lennox is a good spot. That's a good spot to take that. It's quiet over there. The streets are nice and wide. They're not bad. But there's a better spot. There's a newer spot. All right, now let me tell you about what we did. We did steering array, right? Let me tell you about stop signs. Hold on one second. I got to get my stop sign. Hold on.
You got the addresses?
Here's my stop sign. Now, when you get to all right, stop signs, all right? When you get to there's two kinds of stop signs. There's a regular stop sign and there's an always stop sign, all right? And most road test areas have both of those in the road test sites. And stop signs, again, have to be done according to the law. Not the way you see people stop in real life. People just slow up and they just go. But you can't do that in a test. You got to do everything, correct. So some corners you have a stop sign, and there's a white line painted in the street next to it, even with it, like that. But some corners the white line is first in front of the sign. Sometimes the sign's in front of the line. Every corner is different. You have to always look and see what is the first thing that I'm coming to. If the stop sign is the first thing you come to, you must stop 1 to 3 feet before that stop sign. But if the white line is the first thing that you come to, then you must stop 1 to 3 feet before the white line. Whatever's first. You see on this board here? Here at this corner, the line is even with the sign. So this is your first stop. You're 1 to 3 feet back. All right? 1 to 3 feet back. By law. This stop has to be a 3-second stop. You must stop for 3 seconds at this first point. Nobody does that in real life, but they're supposed to be doing it in real life. This has to be a 3-second stop. Then you have to move up and you have to make a second stop. 2 stops are always required by law at a regular stop sign. Now your second stop, there's a very exact spot for it. This is your body. This is a sidewalk. And this is a sidewalk. When your body is in a straight line with the center of this sidewalk, your body is in a straight line with the center of the sidewalk, and the center of this sidewalk, that's where you got to make your second stop. All right? Now, your second stop only has to be a second. But if you can't see from here, because most of the time you still can't see from here, you have to make more stops. You could make as many stops as you want after these 2. But these 2 are required by law. If you need to make 3, 4, 5, 10 more stops, you can. Like an inch at a time, inch at a time, inch at a time. But these 2 have to be done first, all right, by law. Now, when you move up from this second stop, you always have to look to your left first because that's the lane of traffic that's closest to you. So you have to look to the left first, then to the right, and then you can look back and forth as much as you want. And then when you see it's clear, then you can go. But you always got to look to the left first. And they'll watch to see if you do that. All right? And you got to look to the left first, then to the right. And then, you go, when it's clear. Now, let me tell you another thing that happens. Sometimes you could have a car behind you because car doesn't want to, if you make a regular car behind you stop for 3 seconds, that's like stopping all day for a regular driver. And that car might blow the horn. And if they blow the horn to make you go faster, because they don't know if you're on a road test or not, and sometimes people don't even care. Don't do anything any faster. It still has to be a 3-second stop because they want to see how you react to pressure. And if they see that car's bothering you and you're not, and you're starting to get nervous and doing things like a little quicker, they could fail you. They could say, listen, you're really not ready for the road yet because the car behind you is upsetting you and you're going a little faster to make that car happy. Too bad. If that car has to wait 2 seconds, too bad. This is your road test. This is your time to shine. Don't worry about other cars, right? They'll get over it. So you stop. So if there's cars behind, ignore them. Because I've seen it happen a lot of times. The car stop blowing a horn, and another thing, don't make a comment about that car. Don't say like, listen to this person. People stand out. There's no patience. Don't say that because it shows them that you're upset and you have the beginning of road rage. they'll say, oh, that car's upsetting you. Now you're not driving as carefully as you normally would because you're emotional now. You're upset. So if you've got a car behind you that blows the horn, which you may not have, but just in case, ignore them. Don't make any comments about it. Don't be like, hey, look at it, beat these people. Don't say none of that stuff because it shows when you're angry. And they'll say, you don't even have a license yet and you're fighting with other people. Bad. All right, so that's a regular stop sign. All right, then you're going to have an always stop sign. An always stop sign means there's a stop sign at every corner. All 4 corners have a stop sign. Stop, stop, stop. And then you're going to have one over here for stop. All right? Always stop. You still have to stop. It's the same thing. If the line is first, you stop before the line. If the stop sign is first, you stop before the stop sign. But at an always stop, it's only one stop, and then you go. You stop, you look left, you look right, and you go. All right? There's no 2 stops at an always stop. It's just one stop. And it depends on who stops first. Whoever stops first at an always stop goes first. So if you stop before any other car, you would go first. If this car here stopped before you, they go first, you go second. Whoever stops first goes first. It's only a 1 second stop, and then you go. But you stop it in 1 second, you look left, look right, and you go. Go ahead.
Okay, what about we do the 2 stops on a 4-way?
No, you fail. Because you're changing the rules, you're changing the regulations of that sign. 2 stops is only for a regular stop sign.
Gotcha.
Also, what if somebody gives you the right of way, even though you weren't the first one to come there? Like sometimes, like if for the driving classes, they see that they have the thing on top, and then they give you the right of way. Yeah.
They give you the courtesy to go first.
Yeah.
Right? Well, let me tell you, some examiners will say, listen to that person and go. And some examiners will say you shouldn't go because they're not a police officer. They can't direct you. I have no one answer for that. It depends on what that examiner feels at that moment. Because what I would say is, from the experience, I would say ignore that person. Don't look at them. Just sit there until they go. Because if you don't go, they'll go. They won't just keep waving you on. Because I've seen examiners say, why are you listening to that person? That's not a police officer giving you instruction. And you shouldn't follow their instruction. Because what's going to happen is, they're going to tell you to go, and if you wait too long, they'll go, and then you'll go at the same time, and it'll look bad. So, I would just say, ignore that person, don't even look at them, and let them be impatient and go.
Are you able to signal them back to go?
No, you're just taking your hands off the wheel.
Okay.
You can't direct traffic. They'll say, you got a badge. You're directing traffic now. You're telling that car to go. You can't do that.
And the always stop is a 1 second stop.
Right. 1 second, you look left, you look right, and you go. If you're the first car. But like I said, if that car stops first, you gotta let them go first. And then you go after them. Now, what happens if 2 cars stop at the same time? What if 2 cars stop exactly the same time? Who goes first according to the law? Anybody know?
All right.
You should be driving already. Yeah, you're correct. When 2 cars stop at the same time, the car to the right. Oh my God, a lot of people don't know that. And if that happens on a test, where you and this car stop exactly the same second, the examiner could ask you that. They could say, well, who goes first in this situation? and you have to say car to the right. A lot of people don't know that, right? And that's the way to work. But this is, like I said, road test driving is a different world than real life driving. Because in real life people don't do stuff, think crazy things, but proper stuff. Even though everybody should drive properly, but they don't. But for the road test, you got to drive properly because everybody's supposed to drive like this. That's the law. All right, so be careful with the stop sign. So be careful with stop signs. Now let me tell you about a K-turn. All right, everybody has to do one K-turn, which is like a U-turn. Let me show you. There's a lot of steps involved in the K-turn. All right. This is a street. This is a sidewalk. This is a sidewalk. That's a car. That's a car. All right. We're looking at these cars from like above the sky, looking down. All right. Now a K-turn is like a U-turn, but you have to do it in steps. This is one of the procedures that a lot of people lose points for because they don't do it properly. All right. If you mess up a K-turn, you get over 100 points easy if you don't do everything correct. All right. There's certain procedures for it. Now, a K-turn is like this. Let me show you the general steps, and I'll show you the details of it. You're going to pull in between the two cars at a park. You're going to stop. You're going to go across the road like this, back, like that. That's a K-turn. I'm going to show you the details of it in a minute. You pull in, stop, this way, and down. All right, now, they're going to say to you as you're driving down the street, they'll say, okay, do a K-turn between, they'll pick colors out. They'll say between the blue and the green car, do a K-turn. Or they might just say, between that car and that car, do a K-turn. They'll pick out a spot. And they always give you a big space over here, not like a tight spot. It's usually a nice, big space. Or there might be no cars. They might just say, all right, do a K-turn, by that tree, they might say. So the first thing you have to do as you're coming down the street, you have to put your right signal on, and you got to pull into that space, and you have to stop parallel to that curb. Now, you could be 2 or 3 feet away from the curb. You don't have to be too close, but you have to be parallel to it. But remember, you have to always put that right signal on before you pull in.
Wait, did they measure that too, or just the K-turn, or just the?
What do you mean, distance from the curb to?
Yeah, because they do that when you do the parking. If you're more than a couple inches.
Yeah.
So do they do that with the K-turn?
No, parking is different. Yeah. Parking, you can't be any more than a foot away from the curb.
Yeah, I know, and then you fail.
Yeah, you're right. No, a K-turn, they don't care. You could be 2 or 3 feet away, as long as you don't stop in the middle of the street. You have to be like half in, half out. 2 or 3 feet, stop. And make sure you stop parallel. You can't stop like this, and you can't stop like this. It's got to be parallel to the curb, 2 or 3 feet, and your right signal has to be on. All right? Now, as soon as you come to a stop, now you got to put your left signal on, because now you're getting ready to go across the road like this. So you got to put your left signal on. Then you got to turn your wheel all the way to the left. Then you got to look in those 4 spaces I told you about earlier. Passenger mirror, rear view mirror, driver's side mirror, over your left shoulder, and then you would go out. All right, there's 4 places you got to look. And each of these places is 10 points each. So make sure you do it. And it has to be in that order. It can't be in a different order. So right signal, pull in, stop 2 or 3 feet from the curb. As soon as you come to a stop, put your left signal on, turn your steering wheel all the way to the left. Look in those 4 spots, passenger side, rear view, driver's side, over your left shoulder. And then when there's no cars coming, you're going to go nice and straight across the road. Straight, not like this. All right, it has to be perpendicular to the curb. Now, you don't have to go all the way to the curb. You could, whenever the car's straight, you stop, even if it's in the middle of the street. Because in Lenovar, that road test area, they make you do this on a very wide street. And it's a really wide street. So whenever the car is perfectly straight is where you stop. Because they kind of want you to block 2 lanes. They don't want you to leave enough space for cars to try to go around you on either side if there was a car coming down the street. So they want you to kind of block the road. So whenever it's straight, then you stop. Now, the next step is you got to put it in reverse. Then you got to turn the wheel all the way to the right. So you put it in reverse. You have to turn your steering wheel all the way to the right so it doesn't go anymore. Then you have to look in certain spots. You got to look out the driver's side window to make sure there's no cars coming down the street. You have to look out the passenger side window to make sure there's nobody coming this way. And then you must look over your right shoulder. So you have to look driver's side, passenger side, over your right shoulder. Once you look over your right shoulder, then you can start backing up. But you have to stay looking over that right shoulder, not mirrors. Now, once you go back a few feet, you have to take one more look to the left. So you're looking over your right shoulder, but as you go back a few feet, you got to turn your head real quick and look out the left again, just to make sure there's nobody coming, and then right back over the right shoulder again. Now, as you go back, you want to stop when your body is in the imaginary center of that street. They don't want you to go too far back when the back of your car is over the sidewalk. Whenever your body is in the imaginary center, that's where you stop. And then you get it ready to finish the K-turn. So the first thing you have to do is put the car in drive, because gear is always first. Remember, it's always gear before steer, right? Gear before steer. So you put your car in drive, because gear is first. Then you turn your wheel all the way to the left, where steering is second. And observing is always last. The last place you look before you drive away. Does anybody know the last place you look before you drive away and finish the K-turn?
You're right.
That's correct. You must look to your right. That's the very last place you look, is to your right, out your passenger front window, and then you complete the K-turn. And remember, when you complete the K-turn, you have to end in your driving lane. You can't end the K-turn in the parked car lane and then come back into the driving lane. That's wrong. You lose points for that. Incorrect lane of traffic. So when you finish that K-turn, make sure you always aim in your lane of traffic and drive straight away into your lane of traffic. All right? It's very important. This is something you got to practice. Nobody's born knowing this. You got to learn. All right? And this is the thing where people, mess up on. And remember, it's always gear, steer, and then observe. It's always those steps. Gear first, steering second, observing is always the last thing you do. All right? So be careful with the K-turn. So I'm going to do it again real fast. Right signal, pull in, stop parallel to the curb. And let me tell you one more thing you have to be aware of. When you pull into that spot, if there's a car up here, do not pull too close to that car, because now you don't have enough room to go out, and then you have to back up, and and you can lose points for that. All right, poor judgment. You can lose 10 points for poor judgment because you didn't judge the space properly, and now you had to back up to correct it. So when you pull into that space, make sure you always leave space, enough space for you to go out on the next step. Don't go too close like that, and then have to back up and lose points. So you put your right signal on, pull in, stop parallel 2 or 3 feet. As soon as you come to that stop, put your left signal on, turn your steering wheel all the way to the left, look in those 4 spots, passenger mirror, rear view, driver's side over your left shoulder, nice and straight, don't go too far, stop, put your car in reverse. Remember, it's always gear, steer, observe. Put your car in reverse, turn your wheel all the way to the right, look out the passenger, driver's side window, not mirrors. Passenger side window, over your right shoulder, start rolling back, turn your head real quick, look over the left again, real quick, then back over your right shoulder again, keep going, stop when your body's in the center of the street, put the car in drive, turn your wheel all the way to the left, look out the passenger front window, and then drive away in your lane of traffic. And you always have to end in your lane of traffic and drive away. Like I said, don't end in the parked car lane and come back like that, because you can lose points for incorrect lane of traffic. All right, so that's another requirement on the test. Anybody have any questions with that? Very good. Brenda, you did that on a test?
Yeah.
Did they make you do it on that really wide street?
Yeah, but I'm really good at K-turns now. I just don't like to park, but that's it.
Yeah, parking, nobody loves parking. Parking takes judgment. Yeah, there's one street in Atlanta where they make you do a K-turn. It's a very wide street. You can easily go like this in one move. And some people do that, but you can't. You still have to do it in the proper way of steps.
If you don't do the steps, you automatically fail, and they tell you to stop. They tell you to pull over, and they bring you back to the road test.
Say it again?
I said, if you don't do it by the steps, they tell you to stop and pull over and go back to the test. Like, fail to stop. Because that's already over 30 points.
Well, some of them do. If they're comfortable in the car and it's a nice hot day and there's air conditioning on, they might continue to make you do the rest of the test, even though they decided to fail you already. But they usually, most of the examiners do not tell you if you failed during the test, because they're afraid that if they tell you during the test that you failed, you might say, what? I failed? I'm going to crash this car right into that tree and kill both of us. So they usually wait till the end, and then they give you the good news or the bad news. All right, that's a K turn. Now, parking. Parking, there's a million ways to do parallel parking. All right, I can't cover every single way on the board. There's a lot of methods to parallel parking, but I'm going to show you the basics of it. As you come down the street, again, you're going to have a car here. You might have a car behind you. Usually, they'll pick a very big spot. It's very rare where you'll have to squeeze it between two parked cars. If you took it in Brooklyn, yeah, you'd have to squeeze in between two parked cars. But in Staten Island, they usually give you a big spot. All right, you might have a car behind, you might have nobody behind. Now, they'll say to you, all right, parallel park with that blue car, let's say, right? And remember, you have to park where they tell you, because I've seen people pass the car that they say and they go to another car because they didn't like that car for some reason. They said, I don't like, I could do it at this car, and you'll fail for that. So the place they tell you to park, you got to park, right? You can't choose the spot. So let's say it's the car. The first thing you got to do as you come down the street and they pick that car for you, you have to put your right signal on again. You have to come over just a little bit. You're just coming out of your lane just slightly to the right, and you're pulling up next to this car. Now, when you pull up next to this car, you have to be parallel to it. You got to be parallel to that car. Now, some people will stop bumper to bumper, bumper to bumper. Some people will stop mirror to mirror, mirror to mirror, bumper to bumper. There's many different, points of reference you could use, but bumper to bumper, mirror to mirror. And this spacing right here, this space has to be about 2 to 3 feet. You have to be about 2 to 3 feet away from that car when you pull up next to it. You can't be too close to it, because if you're like a foot away and they think that mirror might hit that mirror, they could fail you. But they could grab the steering wheel and turn it and say, you're going to hit the mirror, or if they think, if they're nervous about it. And then once they take control of the car like that, that's the end of the test. So 2 to 3 feet away. It's not that easy to do when you're sitting over here. It's not that easy to judge that distance from where you sit over here. If you haven't done it before, it takes getting used to. But you can do it 2 or 3 feet away. Now, as soon as you come to that stop, the next thing you do is put the car in reverse. All right? Because remember, it's gear, steer, and observe. So the next thing you do is put the car in reverse. Then you have to turn the wheel to the right. Now, what we teach people is, there's a lot of different ways to do it. If you're stopping bumper to bumper, you have to drive back a little bit first before you turn the wheel to the right. Because if you turn it to the right at this point, your car might hit the corner of this car, because you're starting the angle very, very soon. So what we teach people is to stop halfway, like when your body is by the back door of that car, halfway back. It makes it a lot easier, because now you have no risk of the front of your car curving into this, because you're starting the procedure back further. But it depends on, how you learn. Like I said, there's many different ways to do it. But we try to do it the easiest way possible. So we stop you halfway back, right? So what you do is put the car in reverse. You turn the wheel all the way to the right. All right. Now, this is if you're stopping halfway back. If you're doing it bumper to bumper, it's different. All right. It's something you got to practice. You can't start turning the wheel until your front of your bumper is even with the back of their bumper. Then you will start turning the wheel. Parking is something you have to really be in a car to understand it. So I'm trying to give you like just the basics of, what you have to be aware of. But if you start halfway back, it's a lot easier. So you put the car in reverse, you turn the wheel all the way to the right. Before you start moving, you have to look over here, across the street, at the sidewalk over here. They want you to take a fast look over here because they'll say, well, what if there's people on the other side of the street deciding to walk across the street as you're backing in? So they want you to be aware of that. So you have to look out the driver's side, just for a second to see if there's any activity over here. Then you look over your right shoulder. You got to look here now. And then you can start making the car roll back. But you got to stay looking over your right shoulder, not the mirror, not the passenger mirror. You can glance in it. If you use the passenger mirror to help you park, to see where the curb is on the side, you can glance in it, but you can't stare in it. You have 99% of the time you got to be looking over your right shoulder because they want you to see that. Let's say there's a person walking out of their house behind your car. If you're only using this mirror, they won't see that. You won't see that person coming down their sidewalk, getting ready to walk behind your car. You won't see that. You won't see that person until they're right behind your bumper, which would be too late. So you have to always look over the right shoulder as you're backing up. And what Eric was asking me before, both hands got to be on the wheel. You cannot put your hand behind the seat to get comfortable. You can't rest it on the shifter. You have to keep both hands on the wheel, and you're looking over your right shoulder, and you go back nice and straight. Now, at some point, and here's your big decision. At some point, you got to turn that wheel all the way to the left to make the car come in like this. That's a point you got to learn by doing it. It's something you'll get a feel for after a while. I mean, the instructors here show you little tricks to help you know when that point is to turn the wheel all the way to the left. But this, you have to do it. If you go back too far, you'll hit the curb. And if you stop too early, you'll be too far away from the curb. And like Brenda was saying, you're only allowed to be no more than 12 inches from a curb. That's by law. All right. They would prefer you to be 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 inches from the curb, but up to 12 inches is legal parking. All right. So you don't want to be, it's better to be far away than too close, because if you back up and you hit the curb with the back tire, you could fail for that. They can automatically fail if you hit that curb. Even if you hit it gently, they can fail you for that. But they can't fail you if you park a little bit away from the curb. You can only lose 5 points for excessive space if you're more than the 12 inches, right? You can't automatically fail for that. But you could automatically fail if you hit the curb, right?
What was the preferred distance from the curb?
5 to 8 inches.
5 to 8 inches.
5 to 8 inches is ideal, because some of these examiners feel that, in their thinking, even though it's legal to be even a half inch from the curb, they look at it like, well, you're parking so close to the curb, there could be like a lot of debris there from the broken glass and trees and things that could break your tire. That's how they think in their heads. Because I talk to them all the time. This is what they think. So they don't want you being too close. Even though legally it's fine, but they might frown on it. Some of them will look like, hey, you're so close. You're parking in all debris. That's how they look at it. So 5 to 8 is ideal, but legally up to 1 foot, it's legal parking. It's considered correct parking.
Some guy would come out and measure it.
What happened? What they do?
I don't know. My brother took a road test and they went out and measured his parking.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous. Most of them don't do that. They might open the door and look at it. What do? Take a ruler?
Yeah. 3 other people told me that too. It depends who it is.
Yeah, it depends who it is. That person might be new. Because the professional ones, they know know exactly how far it is from the curb. They don't have to look at it. But yeah, they could do that. But they don't do that very often. So you go back nice and straight, and remember, you look over your right shoulder. Now remember, you cannot stop looking over your right shoulder until the car is completely stopped. Like a lot of people think that, well, I can start backing up, and even though I'm only moving a few more inches, I could already start looking forward, because you get ready to finish your park, but you can't do that. You have to stay looking back until the car's completely stopped, because they'll say to you, well, even though you're over a few inches and you're looking forward, they'll say, well, 6 steps off the curb, and and you're already looking forward because your car's still rolling back. Yeah. So they look for little things like that. Make sure you back up and stay looking back until the car's completely stops. Then you get ready to the apartments. Remember, you have to move, and then you have to move forward. Moving forward is part of the test. All right. Now, remember, you turned your wheel all the way to the left to make the car come in like this.
No, Papa.
Now, if you went straight up now, your car will roll back out again because you turned it all the way to the left. So what you have to do is, you have to turn, first you put the car in drive. Turn your wheel 2 times, 2 full circles.
He does it for you?
2, and that makes the tires straight. And then you roll.
No, he wasn't.
Leave about 4 or 5 feet from the car in front. This space has to be about 4 or 5 feet between you and the car in front of you.
Are you?
If there's anybody, these people about I'm not sorry. You're a little bit more than a meter.
I'm sorry, Alicia. Can you mute yourself, please?
I can't hear you.
Listen, can you mute yourself?
Whoever has the mic on, please. The voice is coming through. Remember, when you move forward, you have to always leave 4 or 5 feet in front of you, and you put the car in park. Right? This space between you and the curb, like I said, it could be anywhere from 1 to 12 inches when you finish parking, and the space in front of you has to be between 4 or 5 feet, and then you just put the car in park. Okay? Now, wait for them to tell you to pull out of the spot. Don't just think like because you've done that you can start to go. Don't. When they tell you to pull away from a parking spot, and again, wait for their instruction on that, even though you might have 4 or 5 feet in front of you here and you think like, oh, I have enough space to go out, don't do that. It's wrong. They always want you to back up. Always. Even if you think you have enough room to do it, don't do it. They always want you to back up, 5, 6, 7 feet, because you'll have space behind you. Now remember, when you back up, you're going to put the car in reverse. You're going to back up, and you have to look over your right shoulder, and you got to back up straight. Don't start turning the wheels as you're backing up to angle it, because you might hit the curb on the way back in those few feet that you're backing up. So just as you roll forward at the beginning, at the end of it, you're going to roll straight back, all right? And then you do everything you normally do when you pull away from the curb, like I told you earlier. Put the car in drive, put your left signal on, turn the wheel a little bit to the left, look in those 4 spots that I told you about, and then if there's no cars coming, you pull away from the curb. But like I said, it's very important when you're pulling away from the curb to look in those 4 spots: the passenger side mirror, the rear view mirror, the driver's side mirror, over your left shoulder, because each of those spots is 10 points each. You know what I mean? And you don't want to fail something ridiculous. Observation is a very big part of this test. And when you look at these spots, make sure you exaggerate it. Don't do it like, one motion like that. Make sure you look 2 seconds in the passenger side, 2 seconds in the rear view, 2 seconds in the driver's side, and 2 seconds over your left shoulder. Make sure, they're aware of it. Don't do your observation too quick. Because, they don't, if they blink, you don't want to, and they didn't see you do 2 spots, that you can lose 20 points for that. And you don't want to lose points for something you're doing correctly because you did it too quick. So take your time with the observations. With the observation, those 4 points I was telling you about. It's very important. But that's how people fail. People fail on observation more than anything else. They fail to observe. Failure for that, stuff like that. So parking, like I said, is something you got to practice. It's not something I can show you on a board. You got to really be in the car to understand it. But you can do it. Anybody can do it. Look at all these people out here that have licenses. You see how they drive. They drive like maniacs, and but they did everything correctly once in their life to pass that test. And then after that, they go crazy after that. But that's how you got to do it. These are the procedures on the test. And like I said, all these things are on the sheet that I was showing you. There's 31 things you can do wrong on it. 31 things you can do wrong. And like I said, most of the things on here are 10 and 15 point errors. There's very few things that are 5. Like I said, go online and type in road test evaluation. You'll see this on the screen. You'll be able to print it out so you can look at it. That's a sheet they use. All right, hang on 1 second. All right, now, road test areas. We're going to probably take a break about 1 o'clock. We'll take a break for a little while. And when we come back from a break, I'm going to show you, I'm going to try to get some movies set up for you. Road test locations, besides the one she mentioned, Lenovar, which is in like Princess Bay area over here, towards Townsville. Anybody know any other spots?
Mariners Harbor.
Yeah, that's a good spot. Any other ones?
Father Capitano.
Father Capitano.
That's the worst.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do there. Are they still doing Snug Harbor or no?
No, it's closed. Snug Harbor is only open for road tests from October until April every year. And then in the month of April, they close. And if you want Snug Harbor, you have to wait till October again. They open it up sometime in October. Every year they do it. So it's closed. So the only ones you have now are Father Capodanno. You have Father Capodanno by the beach, which I'm going to tell you about that one. You have Mariners Harbor, which is good. And you have Lenovar, which is the one in Townsville. And does anybody know the new one that they're using? There's a new one they started using about a year ago. It's called Dugdale. Anybody ever hear that one?
No.
No.
Dugdale is a very good spot. I'm going to tell you about it. All right, but first, let's do Father Capodanno. Father Capodanno.
I wouldn't do that.
Boulevard. For the people that don't know where that is, that's the road that goes from the Verrazano Bridge, goes all the way along the boardwalk, the beach, South Beach, Midland Beach. If you take it all the way to the end, it goes around in a circle, which is a few blocks past Midland Avenue. Once it goes around in that circle, on the right side, the water side, there's some handball courts over there, there's some basketball court. That's where the road test starts. Right on the corner of Father Capodanno Boulevard and Lincoln Avenue, on Father Cap, at the corner of Lincoln. Now, that road test area is not the great. There's a lot of things to worry about there that you don't have to worry about in the other spots. It's not terrible, but it's not a preferred spot because there's a little bit of traffic over there and they're doing some construction over there now. What they ask you to do is, and that's the only road test area in Staten Island where you have to do lane changes. You have to go from the curb into the first lane of Father Capodanno, into the second lane of Father Capodanno, and then into a turning lane. So when you pull away from the curb, you can't just go from the curb right into the second lane. You have to do your lane changes separately. So you'd have to put your left signal on, go into the first lane, right? Then you got to take your signal off, drive a little bit, put your signal back on again, go into the second lane, take your signal off, drive a little bit, and then put your signal back on again and go into the turn. At the first corner you come to, which is Midland, they tell you to make a left. So it doesn't seem that difficult. And anytime you do a lane change, you have to put your left signal on, right? You have to look in your driver's side mirror, and then you have to look over your shoulder, and then you do the lane change. So it's a little involved, and that's why people don't like Father Capodanno, because it's the only one where you have to do lane changes. So you put your left signal on, look in the driver's side, look over your shoulder, and you go into the first lane. Then you got to take your signal off. Drive a little bit, put your signal back on again, look in the mirror, turn your head, go into the second lane, take the signal off, drive a few feet, put your signal back on again, look mirror, look over your shoulder, and go into the third lane. Now, it doesn't seem that bad, but here's what makes it bad. You only have about 120 feet to do that. It's a very short distance. 120 feet goes very quickly when you're moving. So you have to figure out, you have to time it out just right. 3 lane changes in 120 feet. It's not impossible. I mean, people do it all the time, but it's more challenging to take the road test there. Once you get to the corner of Midland Avenue, you have to make a left turn. They bring you down Midland, you go down a few blocks, Patterson Avenue, Olympia Boulevard, Colony Avenue, and then they bring you up to, they make you do a left, and you go to Greeley Avenue, and then you come back. Like I said, it says only 6 to 8 minutes, but there's a lot of traffic over there. Some of the streets are very narrow. They bring you on some very narrow 2-way streets that you have to drive on. Remember, narrow 2-way street, you have to stay on your side of the road. Even if it doesn't have a yellow line in the middle to designate your side and the other side, you have to just visually know where that center point is and stay to your right. Because some of the streets down there are a little bit, a little tight. But, I mean, people pass there all the time. People pass their road tests all the time over there, but it's not the greatest spot in the world to take it. And at the very end of the test, you have to go back around that same circle on Father Capodanno, and then that's where the test ends. But when you go around that circle at the end, that's two lanes going around that circle, and it's not a perfect circle. So when you go around that circle, a lot of people tend to drift because you're going to be in the right lane. People tend to drift a little bit to the left and cross the dotted white line, and then you could fail for that. So you got to be very alert. You're not going fast anyway, but that's Father Capodanno. They use all these sites are used different days of the week. They used to have certain days for each site, but now because they're trying to catch up on all these people, for months and months, they're using different days. Some use 2 days a week, some use 4 days a week. Every week is different. It depends on the DMV schedule, the examiner's schedule. No, that's what I got. Who said Mariners Harbor? I heard somebody say Mariners Harbor. Eric, right?
Yeah, I drive there.
Yeah, I did.
I practice driving there all the time because I live around here, and it's really nice. They have wide roads, side streets aren't that cramped, and it's really nice to do parallel parks and K-turns over there.
Let me tell you about Mariners Harbor. He's right. Mariners Harbor is Forest Avenue and Grandview Avenue. All right, now let me tell you what that is. Lowe's is on, where everybody knows where Lowe's is on Forest Avenue?
Yeah.
Lowe's is on one side of the street, and where Kohl's is. It's behind Kohl's. That's the street, that's Grandview. The back of the building of Kohl's is Grandview. The next block over is South Avenue. Then you got Home Depot toward the end. So it's in that area over there. This test starts on Grandview Avenue at the corner of Netherland Avenue, right, which is right behind the back of Kohl's. It's a brick wall back there. That's where the cars line up. It's a good spot. It's a nice, quiet spot. It's only about 7-minute test. Well, the Capodanno could be maybe 8 or 9-minute test. But it's not Mariners Harbor. It's a small little area. It's a nice, quiet area they bring you to. They can make you do, and let me tell you what the streets are. So Grandview and Netherlands. They could bring you down Netherlands. They could bring you down
Downey.
The place. Great.
Three Brent.
And say it again. And this little street there called Downey Place also. That's a little street.
I had a question around that area. There's a street called Continental, and I know that there's always this one person that has his truck sticking out in that street. So when you're doing, they have they just, I don't know, you go F-150 and it's always sticking out on that street, and it's some kind of cramped in that street. So if you're making a left there and you're trying to get out of that lane, we want you to signal and then go around and do the 4 observation modes.
You mean that truck is parked too far away from the curb where it actually makes you go over the center of the street?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you have anything, let me tell you what they bring you. They bring you on Continental Place between Grandview and Lockland. Is that what you're talking about? Where that baseball field is, over there? Yeah. Anything that makes you go over the center, the imaginary center of a street, like he said, the truck is parked out a little bit where you'd have to actually go a little bit over the center to go around it. Anything that makes you over the center of the street, you have to put your left signal on to go around it, and your right signal when you come back onto your side. That's what you'd have to do. Signal to go around it, and then right signal when you come back. And that's true of anything, any kind of obstacle that's in a street that makes you go over the imaginary center. Even sometimes, you go on the day they pick up sanitation, sometimes they leave pails in the street. Sometimes, you get a bag of garbage in the street, or, anything like a hazard. Like Brenda said, she said a tree fell in the street. Did you say a tree fell?
Yes.
Yeah. Anything that makes you go over the center point, the imaginary center, left signals to go around it because you're going over the other side, and right signal. But remember, Eric, if you're ready to pass that truck and there's a car coming the opposite direction, you got to wait. You can't challenge that car and say, I'm going to squeeze through by anyway. You'd have to stay there, sit until that other car passes on the opposite lane, and then go around.
And as far as our observations, where do they want you to look? Over your left shoulder in the window and the rearview mirror?
Yeah, well, when you're going around that obstacle, you have to look over your left shoulder. Your left mirror, driver's side mirror, and take a fast glance over your left shoulder. Because sometimes people drive crazy out there. As you go around that, you might have another car behind you going around you too. You know how people are. So
that's how people are going down South Avenue, especially if you're coming out of Continental to go onto South Avenue. They're just zooming past.
Oh yeah, go fast over there. They're trying to make that light as fast.
Mm-hmm.
But usually, very rarely, if they bring you on South Avenue, they bring you from up South Avenue to Brabant. You make a right on Brabant. They very rarely make you go down Continental or Netherlands and make a left onto South Avenue towards Forest. They don't do that because they know that's a busy corner over there. They don't want to, like I said, they don't want to get killed. So you go up, usually you go up Grandview, you make a right on Netherlands, Continental, or it's a little street that go Downey Place, or maybe Brabant. And then from Brabant to Lockman is where you stay, the spot. But yeah, if there's an obstacle, you got to watch. You got to go around it. So it's a good spot. It's a good spot to take it. It's a nice, quiet area. It's a good spot to take it. You start your test on the right side of Grandview, the back where Coles is, and your test ends on the left side, on the opposite side of the street. Now, I'm going to tell you something you also have to be aware of. In that Mariners Harbor road test area, at the end of your road test, usually they bring you down Grandview Avenue towards Forest. And they'll tell you, as you get close to like where Harbor Freight Tool is, they'll say, pull over to the right. That's the end of your test. That street, Continental Place, you cannot put your turn signal on until you pass Continental Place, and then you pull over to the right. A lot of people, what they do is as they come down Grandview Avenue, because they'll tell you like a block ahead of time, they'll say all the way up there, pull over. But there's a street in between that, and they want to see when you're going to put that turn signal on. And if you put that turn signal on too early, cars behind you might think you're turning on Continental when you're actually pulling over after Continental. So be very alert to that if you take it over there. Wait till you pass that Continental Place, then you put the signal on, and then you pull over to the right. They watch those little things like that. You got to watch out for them. It's a good spot, though. Mariners Harbor is a good spot. All right, now let me tell you about Lenovar. Lenovar is also a very good spot, even though Brenda didn't like it. It's considered a very good spot to take a test. Lenovar is it's down in like Princess Bay area. It's by Foster Road, Rossville Avenue, Woodrow Road. Very quiet area. The test starts on the corner of Lenovar Avenue and Edgegrove Avenue. That's where it starts. Bloomingdale Park is to your right. It's a very quiet area. Nice wide streets. They bring you down streets like Lamont Avenue, Ionia Avenue, Edgegrove, Darlington, Carlton, and Foster Road. All very quiet streets. They're all two-way streets. It's a good spot to take it. But like she was asking earlier, there is speed bumps there, and there's two speed bumps they'll make you go over. And like I said earlier, if the sign says speed bump 20 miles an hour, they want you going over no more than 10, preferably 5 to 10. But don't go too slow because some people are so afraid of those speed bumps that they go like 4 miles an hour and they hit that bump, and if your car doesn't even have enough speed to go up it just bounces back because you're going so slow. So, and then you can fail for that. So be very careful when you go over a speed bump. And like I said, they're only in Lenovar. They want you to go over about 10. 10 is the ideal speed to go over there. Other than that, it's a very quiet street. Nice quiet street to take it. It's all stop signs. There's no traffic lights. But like she was saying earlier, starting the test right next to Bloomingdale Park. And Bloomingdale Park has a lot of people walking around the park, like joggers, babies, families with children and bikes and stuff like that. So sometimes, you can have a lot of people there. Another thing you have to watch out for Lenovar, which I know this doesn't happen in the other spots, is Lenovar, you have a lot of landscapers that, doing people's houses and yards and stuff like that. It's almost always landscaper trucks on every block in Lenovar when you take a road test. Now, when you go around a landscaper truck or any kind of vehicle, even a garbage truck, like I was telling him earlier, you put your left signal on to go around it and your right signal when you come back. But what they want you to do is, as you approach a vehicle like that, even like a UPS truck, they'd like you to hit the horn a little bit. Just a little tap on the horn, go beep, beep, to alert those people that are working that there's a car coming by. Because when you have a lot of noise from trucks, you know, sanitation trucks or landscaper trucks, you know, they got the machines going, they can't hear a car. You know, a lot of them got the headphones on, the muffler to muffle the sound. So it's a good idea, and it makes you look very, you know, concerned with safety. If you just tap the horn like beep, beep, as you go around those vehicles, it's a nice touch. You know, they like to see that you're thinking and you're trying to be safe, you know, for people. So it's a good touch. It's a nice thing to do. So it's a good thing. It's a good spot. Leonard was a good spot. But of course, Brenda hates it because she failed there. But if she passed there, she'd love it. Now, the next...
I'll let you know what happens.
What? Say it again?
I said I'll let you know what happens. I said I'll let you know what happens.
You're going to let me know what? I can't hear you. You're talking quiet.
What happens? I said I'll let you know what happens.
All right. Yeah, you're good. You'll be all right. You should take it there again because you know all the streets. You know how they bring you. You know, you're familiar with that area. You should take it there. Good spot. Now, the next spot, this is actually a very good spot. All right, this is a new spot. They just started using about a year ago, maybe a little more than that. It's a very good spot. It's called Dugdale, Dugdale. Anybody ever hear that one or know where it is? No? Dugdale, Dugdale. Dugdale is right near this office here. It's in the Oakwood Beach section of Staten Island, Oakwood Beach, which is to the right of Newdorf, right? Everybody know where, remember, I don't know if everybody, remember where Kmart used to be on Highland Boulevard? Highland and Tyson's, where there's a Burger King here now. It's in that area right there.
That's a good area.
Yeah, it's really quiet. It's really quiet. They do the test. This is Guyan Avenue. I guess everybody was here yesterday, or a couple of days ago, signing up for this class. This is Guyan Avenue. If you take Guyan all the way to the end, towards Highland Boulevard, where it doesn't go anymore, you have to make a right or a left on Mill Road, and you make a right turn, and you go down about 4 blocks, that's Dugdale. It's a very quiet spot. The test starts on the corner of Dugdale and Mill Road. All right, it's only about maybe 6-minute test altogether. It's very, very short, 6 minutes, and you're done. Very quiet streets. Most of the streets are dead-end streets. A lot of the houses down there, because it's right near the water, when that hurricane came in 2012, a lot of them got knocked down. So a lot of people never rebuilt their homes. So when you take the test, it's like a park. It's like all just trees and weeds just growing, and it's just a little road. There's very few people, very few houses, very quiet. But the streets they bring you down, in case anybody knows that neighborhood, they bring you down Riga Street, Adelaide, Aviston, and a little street called Merkel, and Dugdale, and maybe Guyan Avenue and Mill Road. Very quiet area. The only thing you have to worry about down there is, because it's like a park, there's a lot of deers walking around down there. Deers and all kinds of creatures walking around. So many times you could have a deer walk right in front of your car on a test, because they don't care. Because people feed them. When people are waiting in line for the road test, they come over to the car like they think they're in like Great Adventure, like Safari. Like they feed them cookies and stuff. So the deers just stay there. They love it. You can have deers walk right in front of your car when you take that test. And if that happens, don't blow the horn. And you're like, don't blow the horn like, look at this deer right in the pit, because they look at you like, oh, that's terrible. You're trying to scare that poor little creature. Just sit there and let it pass, because they'll walk away. But a lot of people think they try to take the car and try to bump into the thing to make it run. But that's not good. They want you to just sit there and just admire it. Look how beautiful it is until it passes. But that's the big problem with Dugdale. There's a lot of animals walking around over there. There's all kinds of things walking around. Deers, You got turkeys, geese, ducks, everything. Although so you don't have to worry about people, but you got to worry about creatures. So it's a good spot to take it. That's a good spot to take. That's Dugdale. All right, so you got Father Cat, you got Mariners Harbor, Dugdale, and Lenavard. Snug Harbor is a good spot, but you got to wait till October. Right, like I said, it's only open from October to April, and then it's closed for summer, spring and summer. So in October it'll open all of a sudden you'll see it on the website. It'll open up in October. Snug Harbor is Richmond Terrace. The test starts on Richmond Terrace between Bard Avenue and Snug Harbor Road. All right, it's right near the Snug Harbor Cultural Center. It's near the Richmond University Medical Center, Rumsey, down there, that area. It's a good spot to take it. They bring it down Kissel Avenue, Amelia Court, Wales Place, and a little street called Walnut Street, or Walnut Avenue, I think it is. It's a quiet area. It's a good spot to take it also. But like I said, you got to wait till October for that. So you can't do that. So anybody have any questions about road test areas that you're not sure of? No? Everybody's good? Just to remember, the most thing is stay calm, get a good night's sleep. Don't think about it too much, because when you think about it, you make yourself sick. And then
I have a question.
Yes, Cassiana.
So can I make my test anyone this place?
Any place.
I can choose
Anywhere. You could take a road test anywhere in New York State. It's legal anywhere in New York State, and you could pick your own spot.
All right.
The only thing is, you see, Dugdale is a good spot. Lenavard is a good spot. Those are like quieter of all the areas, and a lot of people want those spots only. And because so many people want them, they get very backed up.
Mm-hmm.
Especially this time when there's been no road test since March. So,
take longer for you get appointment.
Yeah, but sometimes it's better to wait a few extra weeks and take it in a quiet spot than just jump to the first one you get, which might be Father Capodanno, because Father Capodanno, nobody wants it. You might be able to get that quick, but you get tempted to take it, and then it's a busy spot and you can fail. And then you might have to do it again. I mean, it's not a terrible spot, Father Capodanno, but it's a spot nobody really wants. So that one you could probably get pretty quick. But like I said, don't get tempted by that. Brooklyn, you can take it in Brooklyn too, but I would say no. Almost everybody fails in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is, they do it in Coney Island, by where all the rides are, any people are there. They do it in Canarsie by Starrett City, very busy area also. And they do it also in Red Hook, downtown Brooklyn by the Battery Tunnel. So those are not a terrible spot. You'll fail in a second. All the people from Brooklyn come here because they know better. They know how to take it in Brooklyn, so they all come here.
All right. Do you get to choose what time to take it?
Yeah. The more if you have a limit, a time where you need to take it, morning or afternoon, you can request that. It just might take longer to get it. You know what I mean? Because you need a certain time of the day. Like I only need 11 o'clock. Sometimes when the DMV put the dates on, they might only put 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They might put 2 in the afternoon, and you might have to wait weeks for the morning spots to open up. So you could do it, but you're just limiting yourself, to waiting longer to get it. And road tests are given Monday through Friday from 8:30 in the morning until 4 p.m. 8:30 is the first one, 4 o'clock is the last one. And like I was telling you at the beginning, you always have to be there 30 minutes before your appointment. Right? So if you have an 8:30 appointment, you got to be there 8. And 8:30 is the only one they do at the half hour. Everything after that for the rest of the day is on the hour, like 9, 10, 11, 12, up to 4 o'clock. And like I said, and there's no road test after 4. 4 o'clock road test, you have to be there at 3:30. 2 o'clock road test, you got to be at 1:30. No half hour. So, and there's no road test on Saturday and Sunday ever. Nowhere in New York State is there road test Saturday and Sundays. It's only Monday through Friday.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you pass your road test, would they give you like a paper license and then you have to wait for the card to come in the mail?
Yes. They give you a little slip of paper. It looks like a receipt from a register, like a store receipt.
Yeah.
It's a little piece of paper. and it has all the mistakes that you made and how many points for each mistake. And if they tell you to sign it, you sign it. That means you pass your road test. But if you fail the road test, they still give you that piece of paper, but there's no, you don't have. They tell you don't sign it, and on the bottom it says, applicant needs more instruction.
Okay.
What they've been doing recently is they used to hand you that slip of paper at the end of the road test. But what most of them are doing now is they're putting that paper in an envelope, a sealed envelope, because a lot of people that they were failing were starting fights in the car with them. So they don't make you open that envelope until you leave the car.
Oh, okay. I got it. Thank you.
You find out the good news or bad news. But that temporary one is good for 90 days. You could drive with that immediately. The temporary one, the little piece of paper, you have that and your permit. You can drive with that immediately. And then, like you said, the other one comes in the mail in about 10 days. The picture one.
Okay. Thank you.
Also, for the 5-hour class that we're doing, the certificate that comes in the mail. Suppose that if I wanted to schedule a road test, you would have to wait for that to come in the mail first, or do you have to? Can I do it now and then?
Because when you go on the site to schedule a road test, they ask you for your permit number and they ask you for your certificate number. And if you don't have a certificate number to put in there, you can't go any further. Once the girl makes your certificate, we enter it to the DMV computer, so they recognize that you completed the course. So it'll ask you, give me your certificate number, and then you put the number in, and then you can go to the next step. If you don't have the certificate number, you can't go to the next step. It blocks you out. That's why you need the class. Yeah.
Hello, but we can just allow you all to schedule the appointment for us by paying the extra amount of money, right?
Yeah, but you got to let them know. Like you'd have to call on Monday, and you have to say, I took the class on Saturday. I want you to schedule it. But if you want them to schedule it, they charge you just to schedule a regular road test. They charge you $20 to do that, and that's something you have to come in person and pay the $20. They don't take the $20 on a credit card.
So it's 60 plus the 20.
No, the 20 is just for the regular road test. If you want the fast one, that's additional over the 20. And I don't know what that additional is. I don't know what their figures are. But yeah, it's over. It's 20s for the regular road test. The fast road test is more money on top of the 20, whatever the fee is. I don't have the sheet in front of me. I don't know what it is.
Is that on the website?
And then you can get it fast. You'll get it within 3 weeks.
Is the price on the website?
Say it again.
Is the price on the website?
Yeah, it's on there. You have to look up where it says fast.
It's $60. I asked him $60.
60. So it's 60 on top of the. It's $60.
No, it's 60. Yeah, 60 for the rush.
Yeah, they changed. I forgot. They just changed. I forgot it's from March. They changed things. Yes, total is 60. The regular one is 20. If you want the fast one, it's 60. And the $60 will get you guaranteed any. Let me tell you how the fast road test works. You'll get a road test anywhere from 1 day after you pay that money to within 21 business days. So you have to make sure you have a flexible life, because if you pay that money, let's say Monday, they can tell you road test is Tuesday or Wednesday or next week. And if you can't make it, if you say, I can't make it, I don't have enough notice, there's no refund on it. They don't give you a refund, and they don't get you a second road test date. So you have to make sure that your life is very flexible, because they could call you up at night, 9 o'clock at night, and say it's tomorrow morning.
You still get to choose the place?
No, on a fast road test, there's no choosing.
But it's in Staten Island, right?
Yeah, it's definitely in Staten Island, but there's no choosing the location because they're trying to get you the fastest one possible. So the fast one that comes up, you get.
So they don't tell you right off the bat. Like I pay the $60. I'm like, all right, this is the day you have it. They'll call you like within a couple of days or something.
Yeah, they got to start working on it. They'll work on it. And if they get a fast one the next day, then you get it the next day. But it might take them, it could take anywhere. And it says it on the form that you got to come in and fill out, sign. It says you can get a road test anywhere from 1 to 21 business days. Someone's that now. But as soon as they get it, they call you. Like I said, there's times where they'll get a road test for somebody. They'll call you 8 o'clock at night and say it's tomorrow.
No credit card or debit card, cash only, right?
The regular $20 one, I know you have to come in person. I think the $60 you got to come in person too. I think you have to come in person with that. Yeah, because what people do is sometimes they pay with a credit card, and the next day they take the road test, and then they dispute it, and they were losing money. So I think you have to come in cash for both those things. Yeah.
And how long till we get to the certificate, like from the 5 hour?
Well, they're gonna mail it out tomorrow. I'm gonna sign.
So we're gonna get it tomorrow.
Say it again.
So we're gonna get it tomorrow.
Well, they have to mail it. They got to put it in the mailbox.
No, but I'm saying like we're gonna get it tomorrow.
Well, it'll be mailed to you tomorrow. You're not gonna get it.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, they're gonna put it in a regular envelope and throw it in the mailbox. So 2 days after they'll have it. Anything else? For now.
Just one question. Once you pass the test and they give you that receipt, you don't have to go to the DMV. You just that's what you use until you get it on the mail, right?
You don't have to go to the DMV anymore. They mail it to you in about 10 days, the permanent one. The only time you got to go back to the DMV is when you have to renew it. And whenever your permit expires, that's when the license will expire too. And then you got to go back to the DMV. You got to take the eye test. You got to pay like $70, $80, and then you get a renewal on it. And then it's good for another 8 years. But that's the only time you can go back to the DMV. And one more thing I got to tell you: your license is good for 8 years. It always expires on the day of your birthday. They try to make it easier to remember. If you let your license expire more than 2 years, and you didn't go to the DMV to renew it, 2 years after it expires, and you let 2 years and a day go by, you got to do the road test.
Yep, exactly why I'm here.
Yep, that's right. You got to do it all over.
If you could always renew it 6 months before time, just get it off your mind. But you can renew it up to 2 years after it expires. You can still renew it. But if you let 2 years and 1 hour go by, you got to do the whole process over again. This class, the road test, all over again.
All over.
And the permit.
I went like 2 days after, and they told me I had to do it while I was pissed.
Hey, wow, see that?
So you drove already, and like you just have to redo this? That's bullshit.
Yeah,
For real,
I've been driving for 7 years. 25, been driving since I'm 17. I fucking do all this already.
Listen, you better drive correct on this test, because when you drive for so many years, you get into bad habits.
I know.
You better do that 2-hand thing, man. Don't be doing no 1-hand jammy like, yo, I got this. You gotta watch. Yeah, but that's why they give you 2 years to renew it. I mean, if you got to know that in 2 years.
But they do that for the permit too. When you turn 24, they tell you have to retake your permit. But my driver teacher said that you have 6 months to like renew it. My birthday is like in the week, and she was like, "Oh, it's expiring next week." I'm like, "No." So I called the DMV and they extended it for 6 months.
Yeah, only because of this situation now.
No, it's a policy.
Don't.
But it's only if you didn't redo it, like you didn't you didn't renew your permit more than once.
Well, renew it. You don't have to worry about all this stuff.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully, I'll be having a license by next week, so it's okay.
Maybe. All right, listen. We're going to take a break now, but I need everybody. I'm going to show you some movies when we come back. I got to get the screen set up. You got to make sure you come back at 1:30. All right? Whatever you got to do, come back at 1:30, all right? Please. And we'll be done here, like I said, about 2:30. Okay?
Got it.
All right, so I'll see you at 1:30.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, sign out and go back on?
You can, whatever you want to do. Come back, so leave it on.
All right.
Whatever you want to do. Yeah, just come back on.
All right.